1 week prior to her wedding with Victor, Luna's perfect match finalized his divorce. He presented her to Luna, ending their engagement with the words, "Luna, I refuse to settle. No matter how much you try, you'll never measure up to her." Remaining composed, Luna walked away, severed her long hair, and donned her biker attire. She returned to her familiar realm, where Victor and his friends mocked her, saying, "Who would want such a flamboyant woman? She's definitely not suited for marriage." However, everything changed when a photograph began circulating among her friends. It showed a slender, fair-skinned woman on a motorcycle, her delicate hand resting on the chest of one of Beijing's most notorious elite. Victor's muscular, tattooed arm was tightly wrapped around her waist, exuding raw masculinity from the image. Eventually, Victor reached out to Luna, saying, "Luna, who is he?" Another man's lazy voice responded, "Hey, ex-bro, let me introduce myself. I'm her legal husband." Luna was at the bridal boutique for her final dress fitting, scheduled to marry Victor in 2 weeks. Despite the dress being custom-made, it felt a bit snug around her chest and waist. As she entered the fitting room to make adjustments, she overheard conversations growing louder outside. "Did you hear that Victor's ex, Mia, got divorced and moved back to China?" one friend remarked. "I remember when Mia broke up with Victor 3 years ago. He was utterly broken," another replied. Yeah, if Luna hadn't stepped in to support him during that dark period, he might not have survived. Someone else chimed in, "Who's Luna anyway? Beijing's most rebellious princess. Who would have thought she'd actually settle down with Victor?" Another voice questioned, "With Mia back, do you think the wedding will still go through? Invitations are already sent out. If they cancel, it'll be a complete joke." After the conversation died down, Luna removed the ill-fitting dress and called Victor. Instead of him, someone else answered amidst the background noise. She distinctly heard Victor's voice mocking, "Trying to imitate greatness. Luna can't even compare to Mia." Another voice added, "Luna was the hardest girl to chase and tame. Bro, you should be thankful." Victor responded coldly, "Hard to tame? She's been dogging me for 3 years. Guess she finally pushed me into marriage." Another person asked, "If you don't like her, Victor, why are you marrying her?" The room fell silent. After a pause, Victor said, "She's wild, but it's kind of fun to see her behave." Luna hung up the phone. Looking at her reflection, her long, straight black hair, and the absence of tattoos on her arms and collarbone, Luna couldn't help but laugh. She was done pretending to be the perfect girl. A week passed without Victor returning home. Luna listed their wedding house on a real estate website. Every part of that house had been purchased by her, but she no longer wanted any of it. After completing the listing, Victor finally called, asking to meet. He organized a gathering, but was the last to arrive, bringing along Mia, who now bore a resemblance to Luna about 50%. Victor held Mia's hand tightly, as if fearing someone might harm her, adopting an overly protective stance. The room went silent, all eyes on Luna. She remained silent, staring at the red string bracelet on her wrist that was fraying. She slightly curled her lips. Victor finally addressed her, "Luna, I'm canceling the wedding." Calmly, Luna looked up and replied, "You're ending the engagement." Victor pulled Mia closer, gazing at her fondly. "Mia is back, and I refuse to settle. No matter how much you try to imitate her, you'll never be as good. Do you understand? I don't love you." Luna nodded. Victor looked incredulous, unable to comprehend her calm reaction. "You know our engagement was arranged by our parents. I've loved Mia for 5 years and waited for her for 3. She's been through so much, and I want to provide her with a home." Growing impatient, Luna grabbed her bag. "Okay, are you done?" Victor was stunned and remained silent for a moment before continuing. "I'll handle my family. You'll deal with yours. The wedding next week is off." "All right," Luna responded, standing up and heading for the door. Just as she was about to leave, Victor called out, "Luna," but she turned back. He was still standing there, his other hand clenched tightly by his side. "Is there something else?" Luna asked. Victor frowned. "Don't you have anything to say to me?" Luna considered telling him she envied his ability to have his dream lover return while she never would. Instead, she softly said, "Congratulations on your wedding." As she closed the door, she heard voices behind her. "No way! Is that really Luna's reaction? Victor, didn't you say she was head over heels for you? Why didn't she make a scene?" Victor's angry voice responded, Shut up! Luna didn't look back. She realized long ago that Victor was never truly himself. He would never have abandoned her for someone else. After leaving, Luna visited a hair salon and cut off her long hair, which she had kept for 3 years. Her new sharp blue short hair made her feel like she was reclaiming herself. She had a string of letters tattooed on her wrist again. Je ne recule jamais, which means I never retreat in French. Luna then went to a shop she hadn't entered in 3 years. Dylan, bring out my bike, she called. A muscular, shirtless man emerged, looking shocked with his eyes turning red. Luna. Sis. Yeah, it's me. A tall man, nearly 6 feet tall, awkwardly looked her over. Sis, why are you here? Luna glanced at the 2 motorcycles prominently displayed, one white, one black. They're still here, she smiled. I've been maintaining both bikes daily. They're as good as new. You can ride them anytime. Where do you want to go? Should I call the guys? Just bring them out. I want to ride alone. All right. Mounting the bike, a long-lost feeling surged within her. She hadn't ridden in so long. It felt like riding was the only way to forget what had happened that summer. She glanced at the black Kawasaki, thinking of Leo. Dylan noticed and said, I've been waiting for Leo too. The Kawasaki has been untouched, just sitting next to yours. I keep hoping they'll both be back on the road. Sis, it's been 3 years. Do you think he'll return? Luna paused, realizing it had indeed been 3 years. They say if you listen to the clock that ticks backward 1,000 times, you'll see the person you want to meet. I've listened to it endlessly. Why hasn't Leo come back? Emotion stung her nose, but she comforted Dylan softly. That's just a lie. The dead can't return. Starting the bike, Luna sped toward the mountaintop. Looking down at the scenery, she shouted, Leo, I listened to you and tried to marry properly. Why haven't you come back? Tears streamed down her face. You liar, you said you wanted to see me in a wedding dress. Look, in the end, this dress is only for you to see. But it doesn't fit. I've been eating and living well, so why doesn't it fit? Can't you hold me? The wind is strong and I'm so tired. On the empty mountaintop, a vast sea of stars stretched out. The moon cast its gentle light, making everything serene. Behind her, rustling sounds echoed. She turned sharply, but no one was there, just the sound of insects. Gathering her emotions, Luna descended the mountain only to find the black Kawasaki missing. Dylan? She quickly dismounted and shouted towards the shop. Where's the bike? Who took it? A horn blared behind her, her heart racing faster than ever. Tears were already streaming down her face. Slowly turning around, Luna pressed her hand against her chest. Under the dim streetlight, Leo leaned against the motorcycle, dressed entirely in black, his eyebrows an expression as wild and rebellious as ever. He raised an eyebrow at her. My little firecracker, why are you still such a crybaby? Time seemed to rewind to the first time Luna met Leo. Her parents had a massive fight because she wasn't obedient, leading to her receiving a severe beating. All she wanted was for them to stop tormenting each other and just get a divorce. Confused by their actions, Luna ran away, hiding and crying alone. Amidst her tears, she heard a casual laugh. Who's this little firecracker hiding and crying here? Leo, with his hands behind his head, slowly approached, sat beside her, and handed her a tissue. Crying alone is too lonely. You don't know me, so I can just listen quietly. They were both 15 that year. Luna never revealed why she was crying, but Leo stayed with her all afternoon. She later learned he was the school bully from a neighboring school, known for his fierce fighting and being a wild child without a father. Perhaps it was fate, but they grew close, spending time on mountaintops, watching the stars. Leo introduced her to his friends, provided her with the care and love she lacked at home, and encouraged her to stay true to herself, assuring her that someone would love her just as she was. Whenever Luna fought with her family, Leo was there to support her, holding her and letting her vent her emotions. He also defended her, teaching others a lesson when they spoke ill of her, saying she wasn't a good girl. He told her, Luna, no one can define your worth or judge you. You are who you are. Luna, in turn, defended him when others called him a bastard. When Leo didn't feel like talking, she sat quietly by his side, reminding him he wasn't alone. She told him, Leo, you don't need to be anything specific because your existence alone has meaning. Everyone says you're so rebellious and cold, but you become gentle in front of me. It felt like 2 people lost in the ocean had finally found their lifeboat. Their bond deepened, and after graduating high school, they fell in love. One night, a group of them rode their bikes to the mountaintop to celebrate adulthood. Leo quietly grabbed Luna's hand from behind the group and pulled her away, running together. In that moment, it was just the sound of their breaths. "Leo, doesn't this feel like we're running away together?" Luna still remembers that summer. The fullest moon, the brightest stars, the loudest cicadas, and the most sincere eyes of a young boy. Under the starry sky, they embraced and kissed, feeling as though that moment would last forever. "Leo, you're finally back. I've missed you so much." Luna's voice trembled, her body slightly shaking. "Why are you crying? Come here, let me hold you." She rushed over, but all she saw was Dylan pushing a bike towards her. "Sis, why are you crying? Didn't Leo always say his bike would never be left alone with yours? I saw you riding off, so I pushed out the black one and started it up." "Oh, so it was all just my imagination." Luna turned away, wiping away her tears. "People say you shouldn't meet someone too amazing when you're young, or else everyone else will seem dull in comparison." Maybe she was too attached. 3 years had passed, and Luna still hadn't faced reality. She was still hoping for a miracle. Upon returning home, Luna found everyone waiting for her. Seeing her blue hair and biker gear, her mother was furious. "Look at what you've become. You don't even resemble a proper girl anymore. No wonder Victor doesn't want you." Luna stood at the doorway, suddenly not wanting to go inside. She turned to leave, but her father called after her. "Where do you think you're going? Get in here. Call his family and apologize. Tell them you'll marry no one but Victor. The wedding invitations have already been sent out. There's no reason not to get married. And get rid of that ridiculous color on your head. The Victor family doesn't like flashy women. Got it?" Luna slowly approached them, smiling. "Why should I apologize? He's the one who wants to give his ex a home. He's the one who called off the wedding. What's wrong with me letting him go?" Her father stood up and slapped her across the face. "Ungrateful! He's confused, but are you too? Why can't you use your brain? Do you think a family like Victor's would ever accept a divorced woman?" My face burned with pain. He continued, "So, what if he has a woman on the side who doesn't interfere with your position as the official wife? What's got you so upset?" Luna gently touched her cheek, tugging at her lips. "You two can each play your own games, but sorry, I can't." Her father, enraged, grabbed a cup from the table and threw it at her. "So a wild child died. Big deal. It's been 3 years and you're still holding on like this. Are you going to stay widowed for him your entire life?" "Luna, I'll say it one more time. This wedding is happening. Even if you have to die, you'll die married into the Victor family." Luna didn't dodge the cup. It grazed her face, leaving a cut near her brow. Memories flooded back. After Leo fell off a cliff during a race, Luna sank into severe depression, her wrists scarred from self-harm. When servants found her and saved her, her parents dismissed her struggles, unable to understand how a wealthy girl with everything could suffer from such an illness. They didn't care because they had already moved on, building separate lives with other families when Luna was very young. She never understood why they bothered having her if they didn't love each other. When the family business faced a crisis, they decided to marry her off to the Victor family. Luna didn't want to, but they forced Victor's photo on her, telling her to stop pretending. If she truly didn't want to live, they said, she should just die. Lowering her head, Luna caught a glimpse of the photo. For a moment, she thought Leo had returned. He looked so much like Victor, especially those eyes, like someone grasping a lifeline in desperation. Luna agreed to the meeting and even dyed her hair black as instructed because the Victor family disliked flashy women. She wanted to stay by Leo's side, even if it was just to admire his face. However, she never expected Victor to be the first to leave his contact information. He made the first move, and they started dating. Later, Luna realized Victor was using her as a stand-in too. They were both fulfilling their own needs. When Victor asked her to grow out her hair, she did. When he preferred her in long white cotton dresses, she wore them. He asked her to stop smoking, so she quit. He even requested that she stop riding her motorcycle, and she complied. To others, the once rebellious Luna seemed tamed, loving Victor deeply. Even Victor thought so. What could she do? Without Victor's face, she felt she wouldn't have the courage to keep living. So, no matter how many times he crossed her boundaries, she accepted it because every time she looked at him, it felt like Leo was still by her side. That is, until Victor's dream lover returned, and his attention shifted solely to her. That's when Luna realized she had been dreaming all along. No matter how much Victor resembled Leo, he was never him. Before going to bed, Luna unexpectedly received a call from Victor. "Your parents called mine." She recalled how earlier she had posted her first motorcycle photo in 3 years on social media. A friend commented, "So cool." Shortly after, Victor replied, "Who would want such a flashy woman? Definitely not marriage material." Luna decided to cut him off. "Don't worry, you're not the only one who doesn't want this wedding." She felt a tinge of regret because she knew she would never see Victor's tender eyes looking at her again. Victor fell silent before bitterly chuckling, "Luna, if you can tolerate Mia, I could reluctantly marry you." "But don't expect me to love you, got it?" Victor continued. "After all, it's just to please our parents. You love me so much, and your family needs mine. I could fulfill your dream." Luna touched the string of English letters on her wrist and smiled slowly. "Victor, if you're really going to marry me, does Mia know?" He didn't respond. Only the sound of his quickened breathing remained. "Victor, I know you're using me as a stand-in for Mia. Funny enough, I'm doing the same." "Do you know when you look most like him?" Luna smiled, remembering Leo's casual grin. "It's when you don't say anything and just look at me. Even though you're just looking at someone else through me, I'm not sad at all. Just seeing that face already makes me happy." She softened her tone and gently said, "So even though you made me do a lot of things I didn't want to, I never really got mad at you. But, like you said, no matter how much I try, I'll never be like her. And no matter how similar you look, you're not the same person. So we're both stand-ins. I don't owe you anything, and I don't love you. This wedding is not going to—" Before she could finish, Victor abruptly hung up the phone. I swallowed 2 astaxanthin pills. Leo appears to me only in my dreams, taking me back to those 4 years when our love was at its peak. After the college entrance exams, we officially became a couple in front of all our friends. Do you remember strolling down the street hand in hand with your beloved, sipping bubble tea and watching movies together? Even in silence, just gazing at each other, everything felt so sweet. We finally got to ride our cherished motorcycles, racing together across the open roads. Dylan once remarked, "Leo and Luna are the most perfect couple I've ever seen." They stood together like a scene from a romantic drama. I praised Dylan, encouraging him to keep his observations coming. Leo, with his hands in his pockets, would casually lean against his bike, watching me laugh with our group of friends. Later, we attended the same university and began forming a racing team, competing in various events together. He was undeniably attractive, always featured on the confession wall with girls giving him love letters after class. Concerned that I might feel jealous, he arranged for the campus radio to broadcast love letters he wrote to me every day. These gestures gave me chills, and he'd pull me close, laughing. "I'll never stop writing. From now on, I'll write to you every single day." Many doubted our relationship's longevity, thinking we didn't seem like the type to last. Yet, we remained together for 4 full years. Eventually, my parents discovered our relationship. They summoned me home that day, furious and demanding I end things with that bastard. I refused. My father grabbed a stick, ready to strike me. I defiantly lifted my chin, saying, "You both have your own families now. You never cared about me all these years, so why suddenly interfere in my life? I'm tired of your hypocrisy. What am I to you? A tool? A commodity? I'm your daughter. You gave me life, and I'll never escape my destiny." My mother added, "I've been too lenient with you, which is why you've lost all respect and dare to say such things. Was it that man who taught you this?" Just as the stick was about to make contact, Leo intervened, saving me. He pulled me up and shielded me behind him. "All these years you've never cared for her. She hasn't received your love, yet you expect her to repay your kindness. Why? Why should she obey your every command? This is the girl I love. If you don't love her, I will. If you don't want her, I do." That day, he held my hand and led me out of the house. We didn't speak, but he held me throughout the night. We had promised to marry after graduation. However, as graduation approached, I began experiencing strange things. being followed for no reason, and flower pots falling from above as I walked the streets. Leo also seemed distracted. One day he suddenly asked, "If one day I'm not here anymore, what would you do?" "I'd follow you," I replied earnestly. Before turning 15, I had no family or friends. I was rebellious and wild, unaware of what it meant to live. Meeting him made him my salvation. I couldn't fathom life without Leo. "Don't," he pleaded. "Even if I'm not around, you have to live well. Find someone who loves you, get married, have kids," he continued. I wrapped my arms tighter around him. "What are you talking about? The only person I'll ever wear a wedding dress for is you. I'll never marry anyone else." "Don't be stubborn, I'm serious," he insisted. "Why are you so serious? Do you have someone else?" he asked softly, stroking my hair. "My princess, I wouldn't dare. You better not, or I'll marry someone else and make you regret chasing me." It was just a heated response. He chuckled softly. "If you ever marry someone else, I'll crash the wedding." Leo had planned to win a race for me, proposing in front of everyone with a trophy and a ring, giving me the grandest proposal. But I never imagined he wouldn't return from that race. In my dream, the scene shifted to a foggy forest. All I could recall were the deafening cheers, the blazing summer heat, and the news on the big screen, him falling off a cliff. The sky was ablaze, and at that moment silence enveloped me. "Leo!" I jolted awake, my back drenched in sweat. My phone rang. It was Dylan. "Sis, there's a race on the mountain road this afternoon. Everyone's going to be there. Are you coming?" "I'm coming. It's not my usual spot, but I think I need to move forward." "This race is just a preliminary. There's an international competition the day after tomorrow. Want to join? The others have already left." I leaned against my bike, lighting a cigarette. "Yeah, I should practice. I'll compete. I heard there are many famous racers, especially a dark horse from overseas. He's been performing exceptionally well, but he never removes his helmet, so no one knows his face. If I meet him, I'll ask for an autograph." I exhaled a puff of smoke and teased him. "Look at you, so starstruck. I'll win you a trophy next time." Dylan's eyes softened. "Sis, seeing you like this makes me so happy." I patted his shoulder. Finishing my last drag of the cigarette, I turned and saw Victor approaching. Our eyes met, and I noticed his expression lighten. "Luna?" I hadn't planned to respond. I crushed the cigarette under my shoe, but he grabbed my wrist. "Let's talk." He stood before me, blocking the sunlight. Only his shadow was visible against the light. I looked at him quietly. Such a familiar face. It was a pity he wasn't Leo. "Don't look at me like that!" Victor suddenly raised his voice. "Luna, how dare you lie to me?" He seemed genuinely angry, but I didn't understand why. I pulled my hand free and spoke slowly. "Victor, shouldn't you be happy?" His expression darkened as he blocked my path, gritting his teeth. "Happy? I'm just a stand-in and you're supposed to be happy? Do you even have a conscience?" His eyes burned with fury. "No wonder you always looked at me like you'd lost and found something precious. No wonder you often stared at me with tears in your eyes. I actually thought you truly loved me. I even foolishly agreed to our family's arranged marriage out of sympathy. I feel like an idiot." I let him finish before responding. "Victor, weren't you using me as a stand-in too? Your dream lover is back. You don't need to poison yourself with me anymore. The stand-in game is over." He stepped closer, and I felt his shoulders pressing toward mine. Instinctively, I took a step back. "Even if you were a stand-in, didn't you become obedient to me? Would you have changed for him?" I thought for a moment and answered seriously, "No." I only hoped that if I ever got married for real, he would keep his promise and crash the wedding. It was the last obsession I held onto for myself. "Did you never like me at all?" I looked up at him calmly. "You don't like me, and I don't like you. Isn't that fair?" I started to protest, but he paused, his brow furrowing deeply. "Of course. It's not fair, Luna. You were just a dog by my side. 6 days until the wedding. You'll regret it." "I won't," I replied. I packed my bags and boarded a flight to Shanghai. Only 4 days remained until the wedding. My parents still refused to call it off, clinging to a faint hope that Victor and I might reconcile. I looked down, touching the red string I had worn for 7 years. I thought to myself, once the race is over, I'd return and completely sever ties with that estranged family. I finally realized that some parents simply don't love their children. I made peace with myself. Dylan picked me up from the hotel. I heard the racer is staying here too. You might run into him. I smiled. Are you a fan, Dylan? He scratched his head. I just think some of his techniques remind me of Leo. My heart skipped a beat. Dylan quickly changed the subject. Sis, let me take you inside. Everyone really wants to see you. They'll be thrilled to know you came to watch their race. We arrived at the venue just as the race was about to begin. At the track, I recognized many familiar faces. People who had once followed Leo, most of them had troubled pasts, and Leo had been the one to pull them out of their despair, giving them a purpose to strive for in life. Snap! Look, there's the one in the black motorcycle gear on the black bike, Dylan pointed out. He was a bit far away, making it hard to see clearly. I glanced over. Coincidentally, the person in the helmet turned his head as well. It felt odd. I had a strong feeling. My hands began to shake, and my heart pounded in my chest. The race is starting, sis. He was the first to take off. Then he accelerated, as if he had nothing to lose. Suddenly, I remembered the rally 3 years ago, and what Leo had told me before the race. He had said he would propose to me with the championship trophy. I stared blankly at the black figure racing on the track, feeling both heavy-hearted and anxious. I realized I needed answers. Whether it was him or not, I just wanted to see the face beneath the helmet. I grabbed Dylan and rushed to the podium. The wait for the next few minutes was more agonizing than anything I had ever experienced, like waiting for a ship at an airport. I knew the outcome, but I still couldn't let go. Finally, the big screen showed that he had crossed the finish line and won the championship. He had a foreign name. I watched as the camera shifted to him pressing his index and middle fingers to his lips and blowing a kiss into the air. In that instant, it felt as though the kiss landed on my face. My skin burned with warmth. He walked slowly backstage with the staff. I maneuvered my way to get there too. I approached him, knowing it was rude, but I desperately needed to see him. I asked if he could remove his helmet. He didn't move, standing there in front of me. His build was so similar to Leo's. My heart pounded uncontrollably. Finally, he spoke. Sorry. At that moment, everything around me turned cold. So it really wasn't him, was it? I suddenly remembered that summer when Leo asked me what I would do if he wasn't there anymore. I had said I would follow him, but I hadn't. I lowered my head, my lips trembling. All hope seemed lost. I turned to leave, but someone grabbed my wrist. I looked down and saw his distinct knuckles and the veins on his wrist. He wore a red string identical to the one on mine, though it was worn and frayed. My mind went blank, and a tear fell onto his hand. I watched as he removed his helmet with one hand. The face I had longed for day and night appeared before me. Even the curve of his lips was exactly the same. Leo, my Leo. I missed you so much, I whispered, but no sound came out. I finally understood what it felt like to be so overwhelmed with emotion that you can't speak. 3 years had passed, and he seemed unchanged, still the person I remembered. Yet something was different. Why was my vision so blurry? Leo stood under the lights, a golden halo surrounding him, smiling as he looked at me. He curled his lips and said, "My little firecracker, what's wrong? Don't recognize me anymore?" I couldn't hold it back and threw myself into his arms, crying uncontrollably. Why did it take you so long to come back? I heard my little darling was getting married, and the groom wasn't me. Of course, I had to come back to crash the wedding. He wrapped his arms around me and kissed my hair, but I could hear the faint tremble and choke in his voice. I clung to him even more tightly, allowing my tears to stream endlessly. I was petrified that in the next moment, I would realize this was merely a dream or some sort of illusion. The fear was overwhelming. Even if it were just a vision, I begged to awaken a little later. I'm sorry. I had vowed to propose to you with the championship trophy. I'm 3 years behind, he said. Are you upset with me? I shook my head. No. As long as you returned, I don't need anything else. I just need you. During the award ceremony that day, Leo presented me with the trophy and a long overdue ring. From the audience, I watched him, seeing the same Leo from years past, a promise postponed by 3 years. At last, I awaited a perfect conclusion. That night, we turned years of yearning into tangible actions. Time and again, we reaffirmed our bond through sweat and tears. Even when fatigue set in, neither of us wanted to give up. Finally, in his embrace, he began to slowly recount the events of the past few years. It was also intense. He and Victor were strikingly similar because they were true brothers. Leo's mother was a wealthy heiress who had fallen for Leo's father. However, Victor's mother interfered, drugging his father and using her pregnancy to secure her status within the family. Unable to endure the betrayal, Leo's mother left, only to discover she was pregnant. When Victor's mother learned of their existence, she covertly oppressed them, which gradually ignited a desire for revenge in Leo's mother. She then took control of Leo, sending him abroad to take over his uncle's business and undermine Victor's family company. Leo resisted because of me, so his mother targeted me. Suddenly, I recalled all the times I had been inexplicably followed, and everything clicked into place. Leo was terrified and pleaded with his mother not to hurt me. Obsessed, his mother imposed a condition. She would spare me if Leo left. Consequently, they faked his death, sending Leo overseas. For the past 3 years, he had barely slept, striving to finish his tasks quickly so he could reunite with me. His voice quivered with emotion as he said, "You can't imagine how much I missed you." He detailed everything that had transpired over the years, as if narrating someone else's tale. He spoke of starting from scratch, learning to manage a company, proving his worth, and finally breaking free from his mother's obsessive control. He had avoided seeing or contacting me to protect me. In just a few minutes, he shared everything, but I understood how arduous those years had been for him and the immense effort it took for him to stand before me now. I held him close, and he embraced me even tighter, as if trying to merge with me entirely. Every time I missed you so much, I felt like I was losing my mind. I would press the tip of a pen into my wrist, telling myself I had to hurry, succeed faster, or my girl wouldn't wait for me. I promised her I'd win a trophy for her on the track. I couldn't break that promise. I vowed to marry her. She's so naive. She'll wait for me forever. So I studied relentlessly, slowly freeing myself from my mother's control. And now I can finally stand before you. I understood. My tears stopped drying only to start flowing again, as if I was releasing all the emotions I had bottled up over the years. He gently touched my face, placing a soft kiss on my forehead. "My little firecracker. Will you marry me?" 3 days before our wedding, I took Leo to obtain our marriage certificate. Watching the official seal press between our 2 photos, I couldn't help but laugh and then start crying. Leo panicked, trying to dry my tears. I'm sorry, I came too late." I shook my head, gently wiping my face. "As long as the ending is with you, it doesn't matter if you were late." Meanwhile, a photo began circulating within our circle. It showed a slender, fair hand resting on the chest of the current top racing champion. His tattooed, veined arm was tightly wrapped around the woman's waist. The image was dripping with chemistry. Dylan and the others had taken the photo after that day's race, and somehow it leaked. Almost everyone we knew saw it. In a group chat, as soon as someone shared the photo, a heated debate erupted. Why does this woman resemble Luna so much? No way, right? Luna has long black hair and wears elegant dresses. Since when did she get short blue hair and wear tank tops and shorts? Actually, this looks like how Luna used to be. The guy in the photo kind of looks like Victor. Damn, since when did Victor take up racing? It's not Victor. He looks like some foreign racer. I have to say, they look good together. But didn't Victor just say yesterday while we were drinking that Luna would regret it before the wedding and come back to marry him? Yeah, so Victor thought Luna couldn't live without him. It turned out she had been using him as a stand-in all along. I was in the wedding room trying on the dress Leo had custom made and flown in when Victor called me. Luna? Who is he? I was adjusting the hem of my dress when Leo answered for me, his playful, lazy smile evident as he spoke casually. Hey, X, let me introduce myself. I'm her legal husband. Leo and I met everyone on the mountain road, riding our beloved bikes together to the summit. Everyone was laughing and crying simultaneously. He held my hand firmly from behind, making it feel like we were 18 again during that summer. "My little firecracker, do you want to run away with me?" Tears filled my eyes. This time, I held his hand tightly as we ran together through the summer night. I stood on my tiptoes to kiss the corner of his lips, but he took control, gripping my waist and leaning in for a deep kiss. That familiar, soft, wild sensation couldn't compare to the joy of rediscovering something you thought was lost. Yet, it compensated for our passionate, tumultuous, romantic, broken, and unfinished youth. I'm not sure if we saved each other, but I know that in every journey we undertake, love remains the ultimate truth. We partied all night at Dylan's shop and didn't sleep until dawn. When I woke up, everyone was sprawled in corners, fast asleep. I loved it. The atmosphere, the moment. Deciding to step outside and feel the mountain breeze, I was surprised to see Victor. He was slumped beneath a power pole, surrounded by cigarette butts and empty bottles. I didn't know when he arrived or how long he had been waiting. I wasn't sure what his intentions were. I didn't want to see him, but he blocked my way before I could leave. "Luna, let's get married." He pulled a household registration book from his pocket. I didn't understand his game. I took a step back, raising my hand. "Victor, I'm already married." He froze, staring at the ring on my finger. "You married that racer?" I nodded. He suddenly became angry. "How can you be so careless? You've only known him for a few days. Why him and not me?" Mid-sentence, his tone softened as he quietly gazed at me. "I haven't canceled the wedding with my family yet. How about we still get married as planned in 2 days?" I shook my head. "The wedding's not canceled. I just changed the groom." For a moment, he stood there stunned, then laughed bitterly. "If that racer finds out you were using him as a stand-in, he'll definitely divorce you." "Luna, stop messing around. Marrying me is your best choice." Oh, Victor didn't realize that Leo was the one I had always loved. "Don't worry, we're not getting divorced." At that moment, Leo's voice came from behind me, his arms wrapping around my shoulders as he kissed me on the lips. "Because those who betray love are doomed." Victor looked at my face, which so closely resembled his own, and didn't say a word. Utterly broken, he walked away. 2 days before the wedding, Leo and I were updating the guest list, inviting only our closest friends to plan a wedding that was truly ours. Amidst the hectic preparations, I unexpectedly received a call from Mia. On the other end, she was softly crying. "Can you go see Victor? He drank so much that he got alcohol poisoning and is in the hospital." I was confused. What did this have to do with me? Mia's voice was choked with tears. I always thought Victor was genuinely waiting for me, that he truly loved me. I thought that once I returned, he would firmly stand by my side. For that week, he was with me but kept looking at his phone. "I knew he was waiting for your call, but you didn't even send him a single message, so he brought me to see you to call off the wedding just to make you angry? But you left so calmly. You don't know how much he lost control after you left." That's when I realized that in this stand-in game, he had actually developed feelings for me. "After discovering you were with someone else, he kept drinking, muttering your name." I frowned, interrupting Mia. "I don't want to hear this. I don't love him." "Not even once did I feel anything for him." "And he doesn't love me either. He just can't stand that he wasn't in control of the relationship." Then I hung up the phone. One day before the wedding, Leo's company publicly acquired Victor's family business. It was then that everyone realized Victor's father had an illegitimate son outside the family. Instead of battling for the inheritance, Victor and his mother collaborated to deliver a decisive blow. One of the most talked about details of that day was how Leo and Victor looked remarkably similar. Simultaneously, Leo announced he was marrying his first love, and the wedding was scheduled for the next day. Everyone finally connected the dots. The racer was him, the dream lover I thought I had lost but had returned. My parents were thrilled, believing they had secured a new golden opportunity. However, that day I brought Leo home and told them, "I have severed ties with this family. For so long I couldn't bring myself to break away and suffered internally. I felt indebted to them for giving me life, and I still harbored illusions about them, hoping for their care, understanding, validation, and love. But my existence wasn't their choice. Since I'm here, I'm an independent being. When I was repeatedly hurt by their indifference and tormented by illness, they watched from afar, letting me drown in that deep sea. They never saved me. Since I couldn't have what I wanted, I decided I didn't want it. In this world, not everyone is destined to experience familial love. Accepting the absence of certain emotions is part of growing up. As I left, my parents stood before me. For the first time, I saw panic in their eyes, but it had nothing to do with me anymore. On the wedding day, I wore the dress Leo had prepared. It fit me perfectly. I asked him, "How did you know my size?" He pinched my cheek gently, because a certain little one definitely wasn't eating well while I was away. In his sharp, well-tailored suit, the wildness and rebellion of his youth had vanished, replaced by maturity and tenderness. He hugged me softly from behind. Looking at our reflection in the mirror, my eyes filled with tears. This day! I've waited so long for it. Leo lifted my chin and kissed the corner of my eye. My little firecracker, still such a crybaby. A single sentence, and the tears I had been holding back streamed down my face. That day down the mountain, I had imagined him saying this to me, but it was just an illusion. Now that illusion had become reality. What was lost had been found again. Heaven had been so kind to me. I tilted my face up and kissed his brow, because I know there's someone who will wipe my tears away, someone who will wait for me to watch the spring rain, feel the summer breeze, see the autumn leaves, and marvel at the winter snow. And so, even if sometimes I walk alone, I am brave enough to keep moving forward, because I am certain that at the edge of the cliff, the wild wind awaits, and the one I love will be there, saying, "Hello, it's good to see you again."